Dimp Digital presents Idle Game Chat.
Cool.
Astro Bot, PlayStation 5. I left myself on mute, so I've put myself behind the April there. That's why I was a bit delayed before the music came in. Make the most of Astro's new power-ups, handcrafted to level up your immersion from springy punches and rockets all the way to a giant sponge. Buckle up for some epic PlayStation camaraderie. Join forces with your favourite PlayStation icons and show the universe that they're small and mighty in a fresh new Astro adventure, exclusive to PlayStation 5 consoles. Embark on a galactic quest and explore more than 50 planets in search of Astro's lost crew. Dash, swing, rocket punch your way through the journey with all new power-ups. They said all new power-ups, so why are they saying that again? Feel the world come to life with your DualSense wireless controller. Team up with iconic PlayStation heroes to save the galaxy. They've mentioned that as well. And that's Astrobot, courtesy of the PlayStation Direct website, because I went on the store and annoyingly they've started adopting Nintendo's shitty like game page where there's all like, it's like a presentation slide and you have to like click through and it's like little headlines and pictures and videos. I was like, no, I just need something to read. So I had to go off and find that. So we're here to talk about Astro, but we've got Adcock, the Pac-Man himself, who actually, as a spoiler, is not in the game, so don't expect to see his little head bobbing up and down. But there is a lot of third-party stuff in there for people to get their hands on. There's actually quite a few sort of Astro-type games. I remember you came on years ago and done the VR one, the rescue mission. There was something called the Playroom on PlayStation 4, which I think, again, was bundled in... if you had PlayStation camera and whatnot. I mean, it wasn't actually Astro Bot at that time, but the bots were in it. Those little buggers. It was before he became sort of a character, and you sort of mess around with that. There's a little robot dog. I can't remember what that was called. Not Texter. Do you remember Texter, the robot, the actual dog that was like a fad for Christmas?
No.
That a load of people know.
It's PlayStation or
no, this is a real life like item, like Toys R Us.
The metal sort of looking one that's on the backflip or something.
That's it. Yeah. I don't know what it's supposed to do, but I remember Paper got it, and it literally just sort of sat there and done the flip. It's about 80 quid, I think. I think you could record it. It's supposed to learn behaviour.
I was say, kind of mimics like a sort of like a toy Tamagotchi almost, where.
Yeah, well, Furby was one of those. Do you remember those? They were like, oh, they'll start getting their own personalities. And I was like, no, they're just copying what you say. Swindle. But no, Astrobot's been around. He's got the Playroom, he's got Astrobot Rescue Mission. And then at the start of the generation, we got Astro's Playroom, I should say, which is the free pack-in. And then we come to Astrobot, which is what we're talking about today. I didn't know this. This was revealed... I think they said 13 weeks before it was released, and then like released like 3 months later, and that was kind of it. That was its sort of marketing period. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, that's true. I don't remember. It was not knocking around for like years on end, like a lot of the games are. And we had it quite quickly. Now, you've played Rescue Mission, the VR one. I remember you saying, or seemingly my memory suggesting you were really impressed with that at the time.
Yeah.
Like because PSVR, let's be honest, that was a bit of a dud, and PSVR 2 seemingly a bigger dud, which is why you didn't even get one in the end. But that was like a breakthrough game, wasn't it?
It's really good. Yeah, it's probably, I mean, potentially the only good game on the system. I was really impressed with it. I can't remember what I graded it, but
I'll probably find it actually.
Yeah, it was very good.
I'm trying to think what year that would have been now. Probably further back than I'm looking. It should be in here. Let's have a look. Oh, it ain't there, is it? Unbelievable. Oh well, can't be helped. Did you play Astro's Playroom, which was the packing game? What were your high-level thoughts of that?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was like short and sweet. It was really good. Because I think before that, I might be wrong, I don't remember Rescue Mission having such ties to like play, because in that one you were inside the console, weren't you? And you'd go inside the fan and that and really sort of like put in on all the nostalgia of the old consoles. It was really good.
Yeah, and also it kind of brought that DualSense to life because we'd heard
Of course it did.
We'd
You
heard
had
a
the
lot
5
about
options
that. Yeah,
at the beginning, kind of touch, sound. Yeah, really good.
It was, and there's. So in hindsight, it's such a smart idea to pack that in because even if for some reason you didn't buy a game, like that was just there and it was like only 5 hours long, but it was like just a nice, like it felt like the controllers all coming to life and you get like a good feel for how that's working. It's all like, this is sort of next gen now. We've got this little bot fella running around. Whereas when I bought the Xbox as well, and they shipped with nothing, and I was like, well, I've got to go and buy Assassin's Creed Valhalla to make use of that. It's not quite the same when you've got Astro bots sitting there and Demon Souls and whatever Sackboy I think they had as well out on the day. But I really like the playroom. I really thought that was a smart idea and all in all, excellent. I was going to try and I thought Adkins had skipped this because he hadn't spoken. He didn't even mention it at all. And I was like, oh, he must, because I know that his little boy Albert likes Astrobot and wanted to play it. And I was thinking, oh, he's probably having to play it with him and it's not the same.
Yeah.
But then I spoke to him and he was like, oh no, I played it. I started it on the day it came out and then I finished it 4 days later and had the platinum. So he burnt through it, and I was like, well, why'd you play it like that? And he was like, oh, I didn't want Albert to spoil it for me because he was like playing it in the other room. So he just made sure he steamed through it before his kid could get through it. And then lo and behold, he was on holiday this week, so the stars didn't align. I wanted to ask one other thing to start with, because I think this might tip some hands off as to your feelings. Mario Odyssey, universally acclaimed as one of the greats, certainly on that Switch. Sort of same year as Breath of the Wild, what a year that was. Now you come rolling along a few years later, sort of behind the... I don't know why that was the case. I think because you played Zelda on the Wii U, didn't you? He was like, no, I want to play it pure, like this is what it was designed for. And then... was you late getting a Switch?
I was late getting a Switch, yeah.
Right, that'll be why then. He's probably off travelling or doing whatever you're getting up to at that time. 2017, so that was a long time ago.
I think I just returned home and still had the Wii U and just thought I'd give it a strong song. Yeah. It deserves. But
I remember when you first got to Odyssey, after all the hype, thoroughly unimpressed was how I would headline it, and I was wondering, what's that all about? And I think there was a bit of overhype there, but you were not a fan of it.
No, I just prefer my Mario's a bit more structured, I think. I just didn't can't really remember now. I think it was just the sort of semi-dead worlds and just having to find those little star pieces everywhere, and I just didn't really get on with it.
No. Do you prefer 2D over 3D in terms of like a platform, or is that part of it as well?
Potentially, just like what I grew up on. I remember, I don't know if you played it, the one, it was on a Wii U and it got ported to the Switch, forget the name of it, the one where you can play all the Mario characters and they packaged it with Bowser's Fury.
Oh yeah, it was like 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, wasn't it?
Whatever that one is. That right. I quite enjoyed that as a 3D Mario because it combined the two, they were like, you played a course. So, it wasn't free roaming. You just kind of went left to right, or the equivalent in a 3D. There was a checkpoint to get to, but it was 3D. All the power-ups and stuff of a 3D game. So that was a nice compromise for me. But, I don't so much like... I mean, I did like Mario 64 at the time, but then like the Sunshine, I've never played the really super acclaimed Galaxies 1 and 2. I've missed them. On the Wii.
Galaxies, that's a disgrace.
It is a real big miss on my gaming record.
I'd say go back and play it because they released a nice 3D package of Sunshine, 64 and Galaxy, but then Nintendo being Nintendo only put it on sale for 12 months and then it's not available anymore, so good on you, Nintendo, well done. Clever. But did you play Sunshine, did you say?
I did give it a go. It's one of the only ones I didn't complete. Just actually binned it. That was the black sheep of the Mario family, that one. Yeah, it was a bit weird.
Do you mean to play that? Because I've got 60. I've got that pack, so I've got 64. I've played Galaxy, not Galaxy 2. That's what annoyed me about the pack, is they just didn't put Galaxy 2 in. I'm like, why?
Yes, bizarre.
I know some people say it's just more of Galaxy. I was like, that's fine.
Yeah.
But Nintendo just went, nah, I'm not going to put that one in. Maybe they're saving it for the Switch 2 or whatever ends up coming. So what I'm hearing is...
Wait. One sec.
We've got big problems going on, but I'll continue to talk. Might be cat related. Probably nothing serious, I wouldn't imagine, in that household. But
Sorry, I've had that cat looking at me the whole time.
yeah, I said it might be cat related. And
yeah, cat related.
Correct. But yeah, so you're not a fan of these 3D. Well, not a fan, but not enamoured with them like some people are. Like they're always looking for the next great 3D platform.
No, exactly. I'd be much more curious. I mean, no, I say that because they are Hypermobile's the big 3D Mario, so I'd always be very curious to know what it is. But I would just kind of come to it with some trepidation if it looks like another Odyssey vibe.
Yeah. Okay. Back to Astrobot. This is a little bit more structured. It's level based. They call them planets. I suppose they are planets technically. There's not a lot of openness here, but this essential setup is your Astrobot and his crew just flying through the galaxy on a PS5 of all things. So that's like a ship, and then gets attacked by a green alien, crash lands at what is known as the crash site. No other context given, so it may well have not been named before that. And you're essentially... The ultimate goal is to go and rebuild the PS5 and rebuild the ship and escape. But along the way, you've lost a lot of your buddies, a lot of the little bots. Some are just bots. They've got no game relation. They're not a character, they're not a nod, they are just literally little bots. So there's a few of those, but many of them are... I wouldn't even say just PlayStation related. Most of them are, but there's some stuff in there that's just third party, like just random games that have been on the platform throughout the year, and you kind of go off on these little levels to rescue them. There's puzzle pieces to bring back to the crash site, and that unlocks what does it unlock? It unlocks like the gacha machine or the gotcha machine, where you can unlock outfits, an outfit machine. There's like a safari bit. There's all these different bits and pieces you go on. But that's the basic premise, is that you run off, collect these bots, collect these puzzle pieces from the levels, finish the levels, collect coins as usual, work through a number of, I guess, planets on a specified galaxy, or however you would describe that, hit like a big level at the end and a boss, and then a little sort of bonus level at the end, and, you know, work your way through to getting all your bots back and building the PS5. Because at the end of each of those galaxy levels, you'll get a piece of the console back, like the SSD, I think is one of them, like the fan. There's all these different components that you get back, and with a view to getting that thing up in the sky again. So there is a bit more of a structure there. Story obviously is, as usual, very simple, but no worse than what Mario's been wheeling out for 30 to 40 years. In fact, actually a little bit more. I found the whole concept of just collecting the bots back, like just a nice little subtle, small objective that played in nicely, because it was fun just finding the ones that related to games. And, you know, a good half of them, I imagine most people will be like, I don't know who that is, but the ones that you find that you recognise, especially the older ones from like PlayStation 1, I was like, this is great. Like, you just don't know who you're going to bump into next. There are some omissions there. I'll let people find out for themselves when they play it, but there's a couple of like eye-opening omissions that I'd say. But for the most part, I think they've got a really good cast of characters for you to go off and get. What say you?
I recognised about 10% of the people I bumped into. I'm useless at this. Like, even though I've had every PlayStation console but 3,
Yeah.
I just don't. It's weird. I haven't retained I'm not nostalgic for it in the same way as I am for those old Nintendo consoles. So yeah, I was a bit like, who are you? What's that? I was like, I could obviously, they had little haircuts and stuff, and I was like, well, clearly he's meant to be somebody. But if you're that way inclined, you've kind of grown up with PlayStation, and you're not so dismissive of it as me, their history, you're going to be loving this.
Yeah, there's a lot in there. There's a lot. I think I recognised more than half, but there's still a lot that I was like, I don't know who that is. But, you know, you've got, and it's not just old stuff either. There's not more modern stuff. You know, the franchise that they've been hitting on since the PS4 are lurking in there. Even like things like there's Bloodborne references and things like that in there as well that people can get. So it's not all old stuff. It is kind of like a whole breadth of franchises from across, I guess, stuff since the 90s. And I said there's third-party stuff in there as well. How did you find the way in which it was structured, I guess? Because you said you had a problem with the openness of Odyssey, where you just sort of are on a level for ages, collecting moons, or parts of moons even. Actually, they weren't. I think they were just like half moons. But, and then you just sort of get a prerequisite number and then move on. Whereas this is like, you can slam through a level on this once you know what you're doing in like a minute or two, can't you? Like it's, they do have some depth and hidden stuff for you to go off and create. So was this much more of a better pace for you?
See, it's funny. I learned everything I needed to learn about this in playing through the first world, which is what I done. I sat down and I played through that first, 6 planets and the final one or whatever it is, then the bonus. And basically all my likes and frustrations were all just in that world. I loved like the level design. It's really good. Like love getting a power up, which you do in most of the worlds. And then it's kind of almost one and done. You could get something, play a load of, they're not really puzzles, but it's the gameplay mechanic for that world. And then you potentially not see that again, or you won't see it again for many hours. So I love that. What happened was I've got a habit of kind of breaknecking any of these sort of platformers, just kind of how I do it. And I realised then as I was closing in on the boss, and when you finally unlock the boss, it's got that classic Mario like gimmick of having a lock around it, like the level.
Oh yeah,
and you've got to have collected so many of the bots.
It's a prerequisite number of bots.
So like maybe 30 in the first world, and I was probably half short of that, and I was like, that's annoying. I was like, okay, so I get it now. I kind of at that point thought, right. So I heard there was loads of these characters hidden around, and they really want you to find them because that's quite a high number that you needed to unlock it. And I was like, kind of like most of them. And I was like, right, okay, so now let's go back and play these levels much slower. And find, so there's a couple of things. So that's what I thought. And then I spoke to you and you let me know of something I should have picked up on. That once you've completed a level, for a few coins, you can kind of unlock a little guide.
Yeah,
little satellite bird thing that will kind of blink when you're near a puzzle piece or you're near one of your little mates. And then it's just a matter of kind of, having a look around or figuring out a pretty fun but basic puzzle, get your little man, move on. And it's good. You can just kind of clean up there and get the 2 you've missed, say, and you exit the level, which I quite liked. You don't have to finish it.
No.
So then it was kind of me just working out what's best for me. Do I just power through a level and then collect, then go back and then, clean up anyone I missed? Or do I actually, look thoroughly on my playthrough and get the 1 or 2 that I've kind of missed? I can imagine you going back. If you kind of got 1, 2, and 3, missed 4 and collected 5, did you then sort of go back in the level to find him?
The happiest I was when I got through a level and got all the puzzle pieces and bots in one go. That was like, I've done a good job here. But that was, I'd say half the time I did that, maybe a little bit less, but they're quite imaginative where they tuck them away. And it seems obvious in hindsight when you come back with the bird, but sometimes you're like, I didn't even think to see that. So I was very much like, okay, I've missed 2. I will go back and get those 2. Maybe not immediately. Sometimes I'll go back to the crash site for some reason and just drop the other bots off. But then the one thing that annoyed me... Go on.
What I meant is, if you're playing the level...
changing dates for Indians. That's the meal, not the...
So sometimes you'd get the first 3... and you'd find the next one and think, I've got the 4th one, but it's not. You've actually got the 5th one. You've missed one. Yeah. So I wonder, would you actually wander back?
I'd backtrack in the level.
Yeah,
but some of them don't let you. Sometimes there are points of no returns, like you'll get on a rail or something, and it'll take you up in the sky, and then you look down, you can't get back. So that was, I would go back in the level if I noticed that, if I could.
Yeah.
But like I said, then even once the level was done, I was sort of straight back in there looking for the other bots and whatnot. And sometimes I go back to the crash site just to drop those sort of 4 off. But annoyingly, when you go back to the level and then you get to the end of the level, the 4 you've dropped off and the new person are in the controller still. And I was like, hang on, you're back at the So that was annoying me from that perspective. But I was trying to just play through it thoroughly because for me the fun was trying to find the secrets, not just to get. Because I mean,
Yeah.
look, most of the levels are pretty. There's not a lot of challenge there. The bosses are quite fun because there's actually got to learn a little bit of the patterns. Like I died on a few of them a couple of times. I was like, oh, actually, I can't just waltz through this. I've got to learn the pattern and whatnot. And then there are challenge levels, which some of those are fucking insane. Like if you want, I know some people criticise this for being too easy. I'm like, if you haven't done those challenge levels, then you it ain't too. Trust me, it's not too easy. They're so hard.
So I don't know if I come across any of these. Do you tell, what are these levels? How do you get to, or if you can tell me how you get to them?
I don't know how you initiate them, but randomly it felt like sometimes there'll be like an asteroid flying around like the galaxy map. Because the way in which you go to the levels in this, you're sitting on the DualSense, again, everything's PlayStation, right? You're on the DualSense, that's like your little jet, and you're controlling it almost like an old, I think Mass Effect 2 had this, where you control the ship in the little map. And there'll be an asteroid like in the solar system, then if you bump into it, it would unlock. Some of them are like mini bosses. Some of them are
I've got it, yeah. I definitely got a couple of them. Yeah, I know what you mean now. Okay.
But the hard ones, the challenge ones, were all related to the symbols on the controller. So it was like triangle, circle, square, X, and they were scattered around different galaxies. And you'd hit one of those, you'd do like an easy introduction level, and then it would scatter off 4 versions of like a triangle level.
Okay.
And then those levels, they're not long. In fact, those ones you can get through in about 40 seconds, but you have no checkpoint, and the amount of stuff going on is completely different to like the relaxed nature of most of the other levels. So they are pretty tough. Like we're talking like you'll die sort of 40, 50 times on some of them. Like a couple of them I aced, and it was over within 30 seconds. But towards the back end, when they clearly were ramping up, it was tough. There's a bit of swearing coming out on one particular level, which I checked in with someone else, and they agreed that was just way too. That just seemed ridiculous. But it's they are tough. And again, the reward is like 1 bot. So grand scheme of things, you don't need to do this because the requirements sort of unlock the boss levels is probably maybe 60 or 70% of the bot number. But if you want to get that platinum, which I did, that's what you have to go out and do. You have to deal with that sort of stuff. So I got through it, but there is a challenge there for people that want it. And I like that it's kind of optional as well, not just baked into the main game. Some of these levels, like I was thinking, someone asked me beforehand, they was like, oh, do you think it's something my kid could play? And I was like, don't know, actually, because some of the bosses, I think, would struggle some youngsters, because there was nothing really like... Oh, there was actually an Astro's Playroom, but...
I think it's a good level for a kid, because I think it is, like you said,
tough.
for the most point, I don't know, the bosses, like you said, can be a bit tricky. Most of the time when I got killed in the normal levels, I feel like it's because I was, carelessness, rushing. You know, I would die once and then I'd be really careless, thinking I can just get myself back there or whatever, and I'd blow it another 2 times and be like, right, just slow down and actually beat this thing properly. Don't try and avoid them. So I feel like it's a nice difficulty level. Like it's not too easy, but I think any kid that's prepared to like learn a bit, it would be a good challenge level.
Not prepared to learn now, are they? They've got AI, fucking Copilot and ChatGPT telling them everything. Not going to put the work in, are they? Lazy scrubs. No, I think the checkpoints as well during like the main levels are really generous as well, pretty generous as well.
Yeah.
But most of the levels, say most, I don't think that's necessarily true, but a lot of the levels you will pick up some sort of power up as well, which is, I think actually there's only about 5 or 6 overall. I was wondering whether there's going to be like almost 1 for every few levels, but there's not. They repeat them a fair bit.
It's interesting because I felt like there were a lot more, and I felt like they didn't repeat them. It was only when I got to the end bit where you kind of have the credits are like where you can play through as the credits are going.
Yeah,
you kind of get to use all the power ups there, and I was like, oh yeah, there's literally 6 or 7.
Yeah, there's like half a dozen or so. But I think they do a good job of spreading them out, I guess, so you don't overuse them. Like you get like one of the early ones, you get like these punching arms that you use the right triggers to punch left or right. Actually, they're more than that because you can use them to swing off
That's it.
certain things or climb things. There's normally multiple uses for each of the power-ups, but that was like very early, and then I don't think I saw it again until like the back sort of 15%. So they've done a good job, I think, of not overexposing you to these power-ups. And when you do kind of find a level with a new one, it's sort of like, oh, this is a bit exciting. It's a bit of a change of pace. I'm not just going to be double jumping and dropping that electric stuff on people's heads or whatever that thing is, that jet stream that's killing them or punching them. Because basically it's just punching and jumping over them and killing them that way. It's a lot of the fodder enemies that you'll get through. But I liked some of the later power-ups that well, maybe not later ones, but ones you get further in that are a little bit more interesting. There's some cool stuff in there for people to discover. Not dissimilar to Odyssey and like Hattie. Is it Cappy, wasn't it? Where you'd throw the cap on something and it would change the way you play. This is a similar concept, but you just pick up the power up and it changes what you can do and gives you new abilities. And the levels are made around those power ups, so you can find things. And often to find the puzzle pieces or the bots, you'll have to utilize them in some way. Soundtrack. I've noted this down because I just thought this was a great little soundtrack. Sort of popping off, nice and jolly. They've even released, I think it's like 120 songs or something, but it's all on streaming platforms now and its own little album. Not something I'd normally... Well, actually, I think it goes a bit unnoticed in a lot of games, but 3D platform is not known for good soundtracks particularly, but I really enjoyed just listening to that. Even that menu music was a bit catchy.
Yeah.
Probably really annoying for like other people that are in the house listening to that, thinking, what are these fucking old blokes playing this weird like, jolly game for? But any comments on the soundtrack or the sound in general?
To be honest, it went unnoticed for me. As in, I know that the intro is like engraved in my brain, but anything other than that, I honestly can't. Maybe I played it very quietly because there's little baby in bed. I have no idea, but
one of the cool things is, there's, at the end, after you've done a boss of a galaxy, it will unlock I think there's only 5 or 6 of these. I can't remember the exact number. It will unlock, I think it's 5. It'll unlock a level at the end which is based on a PlayStation character, and it's like a little snippet of the game that it's kind of based on. So one of the ones that most people would have seen in the trailers is Kratos in God of War. So there's a level at the end of one of the early galaxies where you pick up the axe and basically become Kratos, and you can throw the axe, you can recall it. It's got these sort of the light mechanics in Astro Bot. What I really liked is the way they had the theme music for each of the games woven in with this new kind of style. Like you'd hear the duh, 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 but it'd be in a nice little Astrobot style. Thought it was a nice little touch there. That's probably one of the main events of the game, is going to those sort of end levels and seeing, and because it changes the way the game plays, and it is a celebration of said game. There's not many of them, but I think that's kind of good in a way, because you don't want to keep just rattling through random games. But how did you find those little like peak levels towards the end of the galaxies?
I thought they were brilliant. On the most part, I think that's another reason why it seems like there's so many power-ups, because that effectively gives you another 5 or 6 from there that are one and done.
Yeah.
It would have been kind of fun if... Actually, I'm not going to say what I'm going to say, because just in case other people get spoiled, but yeah, they were really good for the most part. There's a couple I didn't know that you had to tell me who they were, so they have kind of gone a little bit quirky with the characters they've decided to give that kind of main platform to.
It's a spotlight, isn't it? It's like that's a spotlight of the...
It's bizarre that this has become like the flagship game for flagship mascot, whatever it is for PlayStation, but it kind of works. It's kind of cool. And yeah, they kind of reigned, and I particularly like the last one actually. If you remember that, it's funny because it's a game that I've never played.
You've not played
it, no. No, but I was like, this makes me want to play it. I was like, and I feel like it probably got the most love almost. It was like quite a big section, that one, and I was like, this is good. Yeah, it was really fun, really enjoyable. Interesting mix of people if you do love your PlayStation history, because I didn't know who a couple of them were. Yeah.
No, there's certainly some what people would refer to as deep cuts these days, of like, you know, didn't expect to see that there, to be honest. But it's interesting to see what they chose and also what they decided to admit, because they could have. I mean, there's millions of stuff they could have on PS4 alone. They could have populated the whole thing with just those characters to focus on. I thought that's what they were going to do, but they didn't. They do pull in things from older generations. DualSense. This is like another showcase of that. It's a shame more games don't do more of it. Like, most games do, I think, a good minimum standard, and I've kind of got used to it, even to the fact when I go and play on PC with a controller, God forbid, or go on the Xbox or the Switch, it feels like hollow to play with. Like, it's really strange. I've got really used to just the subtle feedback and the rumble, but Astrobot, like Playroom did, really does lean into this, and I think does another great job of selling those features. I just wish it was implemented more across the landscape, because there's a lot of untapped potential there. It's like one of the only things that you can feed back from the game. Like, you've got the sound, you've got the visuals, you can input. That's like another sort of dimension that can come out of, with games and the way they feel. And something like that, when you walk through grass in this, it feels like you're walking through the grass in your hand. It's a really weird sensation, but any thoughts on the DualSense?
You've hit the nail on the head, mate. It's basically Playroom was the best showcase for it, and now this is the next best. Like, no, it would be so. I guess I don't know what the program is and how long it takes and how much money goes into doing this, but mate, that pad is actually amazing. If people only used half of what's on show here, it does add a lot. And that's the thing. It's subtle.
Yeah.
A lot of the time you don't kind of even know. Well, you do, but it's in like the peripheral vision rather than kind of like forced on you.
Well, that's the thing. It's not distracting.
No,
it could easily could be. I remember those old N64 Rumble packs. Those things rattling off in your hand. And you drop the thing. Like, this isn't really subtle. But then, like I said, I notice it all the time when I go back and play on another system. I'm like, oh, damn, this feels really empty. But
it's a really nice thing when they do it, and no game has done it better than these two. So, just wish someone looks at a developer and says, right, let's just get that in our game.
Yeah. Did you have any technical problems? Any crashes or weirdness? I do have one weirdness to report, and
I feel like I did have one thing, but I can't remember what it was. I think it's overall pretty good, but something did happen.
I had it where I booted the game up. This happened twice, and I think I spent 15 hours in the game so far to get the platinum. I imagine you're sort of 10 to 15, something along those lines.
Yeah,
so it's not. I actually quite like the length of it. You kind of don't want it. You don't want 30 hours of this. Like, it's not needed. So just put that out there. It's a nice digestible game. Although it took us, as people can see, when this is published, took us a while to get through it because we were playing it sort of piecemeal. I was playing it alongside other games, but it fitted in nicely. Anyway, the weirdness I had was I turned the game on and it would like my TV would go black to like put HDR on, I think, or whatever it was doing. And then sometimes it wouldn't come back. The sound would be playing. I could hear it going, da, 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 da. It was a blank screen. I was like, what's happening here?
I had this too. 100%.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've never had that on another game. So it's not like, I was like, oh, is it my telly going out? And I was like, no, you just played like 100 hours in something else and it's been fine. So it is, for some reason, that game. I had to just turn the telly on and off and then it'd come back.
That's it. Yeah, I was going to say.
That's the only strangers I had, but it just seemed like a really weird problem. I was wondering whether anyone else had it.
Yeah, 100%. I can't remember if that's what I was thinking of, but that definitely 100% happened. And I was like, because I didn't want to say anything then, because he was like, what are you talking about? But I was like, I just turned the telly on and off and it fixed it.
Yeah.
Strange.
That was just a bit strange. But other than that, I didn't have any other issues. I think one time I thought it froze, but it didn't. It just sort of hung for a second. I think it was a transition between leaving the planet, and I was like, oh. And then it came back, and I was like, okay, it saved itself there. But pretty clean bill of health, I'd say, other than that weird TV thing. And again, if you've not got HDR, I don't think that will do it, because I think it's when it's trying to switch that on, it just doesn't turn the TV back. Like I said, it happened twice, but worth keeping in mind. If people haven't got an easy way to turn the telly on and off, might have to get up and press a button, God forbid. They even have buttons, these ones. They must do, around the back.
Somewhere, yeah.
I liked the fact that we've got a 3D platformer. Mario, obviously the king of that world. I don't really think anything's come close. Like in recent times, I can't even remember. Probably Playroom was the last one I played, but like I'm trying to think. They're not really it's not common now, is it? It's not like sort of the late 90s into the 2000s where you probably had to get like Banjo and all these different platform. Even like, I mean, Crash Bandicoot kind of was, but it was a bit of a weird one in the way it was going. But it was really nice to see a platform be able to tap into some actual power, and it's all small stuff, but the amount of artifacts that are on the screen popping off. Like sometimes when you'd end a level, there'd just be a load of jewels falling from the sky, and you can like just punch them, and it's all, you can feel it all through the controller, and they're just endless. And you're like, this is like really cool to see. Because be frank, look, Odyssey was great, but like you even mentioned the worlds being barren. It's like, yeah, Switch doesn't help that, and you're not going to get the sort of sizzle that you get here. It's just nice to see a genre and a game that don't normally get that level of treatment really have some power to tap into, and I think they utilised it in a nice way. It was like you could interact and punch everything, and things move. There's physics attached to a lot of things. I don't know. That really stood out for me, because normally you don't sort of see those sort of things in platformers.
No, they've done like this. You mean the worlds off? There's a big. I mean, look, they're much more linear worlds, but they are full. I like those other bits where you'd kind of, it'd be like one of those little things you put your head. You know, when you're on holiday, like you put your head into like a board, and all the characters. But then loads of characters. Like if there was like a tree of monkeys, all the monkeys would join you for a pose, and it would kind of. I didn't know if that you had to do that to get the platinum, if that was a thing, but.
You might have to do it a couple of times. I think it does pop a trophy eventually. Yeah. You have to get them all though, because I'm almost certain I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, little touches like that. And like you said, the bits where like at the end I don't know, it happens quite a lot, doesn't it? With like the sand, like you'll open like a chest and like there'll be jewels or it was like little cotton balls and stuff. Yeah. They're really nice because you kind of just, sometimes there's little things hidden in there. But it's feeding off the controller as well, and just environmentally it looks really good, and it's a nice little.
Okay. Even like the snow, there's like levels where there's snow and like ice. Sometimes you have to clear the snow on the platform, and it'll unlock like some coins or something like that.
Yeah, that's it.
Did feel eventually good job. Sort of left it a couple of seconds, then said something, but I just dropped my lip balm. It was. It's getting to that time of year. Although it's been hot this last week or so, really, considering it's like nearly November.
Yeah, I think our heating's only gone on like once or something. It's doing good.
I felt like early October, I was like, oh, it's starting. And then it sort of pulled itself out the fire a little bit. And I think the power that the PS5's kind of used, I think you can see that in the boss battles as well. Like the set pieces that go into some of those where you're like flying through worlds and getting flung like miles and miles across like these planets. It's like it's probably not easy to do on hardware that's weaker, so they kind of really lean into it. I think it does add another element to it that we often don't see. I liked as well in the crash site world, because there would still be miniature like worlds almost there. Like you'd I don't know how to explain it. It's like a little hub world, isn't it? You've got these.
You'd be unlocking like the satellites that would find the next galaxy, essentially.
That's it, yeah.
So you would go there, and it'd be very simple stuff, but you would have to have so many bots to kind of unlock, either save more bots or get a power, whatever it was. Like, I mean, you were making your way to this like satellite that then would get kicked up in the air, but there would be like little puzzles to work out or little things to unlock there, which I thought was just good. They've really jam-packed this whole world. And like when you actually get your puzzle piece at the end of a world, even like it was always filthy. Do you remember? Like you always have to like clean it with the pad again, doing some kind of quirky movements there, and then kind of screw it together maybe and get some new bits for it, and then put it in the PS5 as your fresh piece. I
did want to touch on like some of the gimmicks that the controller has, like the gyro and things like that. I remember one of the things that I think turned people a little bit off of Playroom is it lent into those features quite a lot. I feel like in this they're quite restrained. Like there are areas where you kind of need to use the gyro and the motion, I guess, controls, but they're not. It's not as prevalent. Like there's maybe a handful at best. I think that was a smart decision. I don't mind them, but I know they sort of motion controls in general. People are still scarred by that Wii, and they don't want any of it. But I think they were quite restrained in doing that because they've easily made it part of a lot of the game. And like simply they don't. There's a few where you need to roll around or whatever as a power where you turn sort of a ball and you can use that. It can help with aiming sometimes. You start to adjust, but I was worried they were going to go like full hog and everything was going to be based around that. But I think they sort of did a good job of being like, no, most of the time it's just traditional platforming with jumping with X and punching with square.
Yeah.
Or cross, I should say. It's not X technically. It's actually cross, I've been told. I think they came out and said that. I liked the crash site in general though, because that's where you go back to the crash site and all the bots you've collected like appear in the crash site, like they're wandering around, and you go into the gacha machine, which is like one of those claws that just picks up like a little plastic ball and opens it. And one of the things it'll open like a new colour scheme for your controller, which is your little ship basically that you're flying around to collect things in. New outfits for Astro to go and wear, but also it'll unlock like props for the buddies that you've rescued from the game. So I'm making this one up, I don't think this is true, but it will give you like a sword from Bloodborne, and then the character in the world will have that sword and have like, and if you go up and punch them or interact with them, they'll have like a unique response to it now. So I like the fact that was like another little collectathon game. It's like there's a reason to have these coins. They're not there to sort of save your life. Like I think they were in Odyssey, you'd lose a few coins when you died, and that was like your sort of life bar. Like you spend them on these little props that go out, and it just sort of fleshed out that little crash site. I used to actually spend time afterwards wandering around seeing everyone that I just unlocked with the new props, just to see what they would do. And there's some good stuff in there. But yeah, I like the idea of the crash site, just coming back now and again to see everyone that you've gone and rescued. I think there's over 300 bots to collect, and they are all on the screen. Like if you press triangle, you can call them all in and do that. There's one for like if you press triangle and then dance, and they all dance together. There's like a little trophy for doing that. Like it's really cool. I like the idea of that, having some downtime and feel like you're building out this little island of random bots, saving them from the evil aliens. I'm done, I think. Oh, unless you go.
No. See, no, I agree. I think this pretty much covered everything. I quite like the gyro bit in the game, actually. Though you say like people are worried about it. I actually thought those levels done.
I think
quite
again,
well.
if there was like half the levels are like that, it'd be too much. But yeah, I don't mind. I'm not fussed by them either. Really,
I think that the hard level I unlocked, the first one was a gyro based level. Yeah, no, I thought it was really good, really like precise. I think the only one I didn't like is the one where you're in your PlayStation pad and you have to kind of, not gyro, but motion control it to like shoot things. I just found that a bit.
One thing that annoyed me when you fly into a planet, like you come in on your controller and you can gyro and move like that. Sometimes the puzzle piece, like in that opening bit, and if you missed it, sort of a level reset. And what I found is most of the time you had to use the triggers to accelerate.
Right.
Or thrust, I guess, to go through it. But I was surprised that the transitions from like space to the planets were actually better than what Starfield could muster up. That's just a little like rubbish cutscene. It's supposed to be this space sim, and then Astrobot's killing it with a transition down and control as you land. I mean, it's always a crash landing, but nonetheless, space to land gameplay in there. Anything else? Any other business?
No, I don't think so. I think we've covered off everything without spoiling anything. I think that's
one of the things. Yeah, it's kind of want to, but it's like you go out and play it, and you'll be better off for it just discovering stuff. I mean, a lot of the stuff you would have heard or seen. As I said, there are some omissions. There's some strange omissions in there, but other than that, I think on the whole, for me, they've done a good job with the characters they did put in there. You can always have more, but I suppose you can't have everything. So a lot of the main hitters you'll see in there, and there'll be some there might be some random games that you thought you were the only one playing, and then you see sort of their little bot pop up, and you're like, what? The only thing I find a bit strange, and I'm not sure if I'm even... This is a criticism, it's just an observation. When you say, look, is Joel in this? Yes, because he's part of The Last of Us. When you find like a Joel bot, there's only one of it. Well, I say a Joel bot. When you find the Joel bot, it will come up with a little like name, like I don't know, Wandering Hero or something, and then it have like a little quip underneath. But it never actually tells you it's Joel from The Last of Us.
Well, exactly, and that's why I found it. I was like, is that who I think it is? Like, yeah, I found it a lot of times. I was like, I think that's so and so, but I wasn't 100% sure.
Yeah, I kind of liked it because I don't know, things are so spelt out these days and made so obvious. It's like I'm kind of okay with just the hints, because some of the stuff I was like, is that really? And I was like, it is so and so. I was like, that's quite fun. Whereas if they just labelled it sort of boringly, maybe there should be somewhere for people to look it up, maybe. But I kind of like the mystique of it. Of like, if you weren't there, you weren't there, and that's. I think that'll be a problem for like newer people, and even like yourself, maybe a little bit. Like, 'cause there's so much. I wouldn't say the game relies on it, but you do get an extra few percentage points out of it if the more of these characters and bots that you recognise.
I'll be honest, that if I had a negative to say, one, a lot of that was lost on me, and two, I felt kind of like forced. A big part of the game was like them saying you kind of need to find these little fellas. You know, you're here to rescue them.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just want to power through these levels. I just want it to be. And in that respect, it's not what I was expecting. It's just a little bit different, but
I think it's a interesting choice for them not to make it obvious. Because even if you wanted to research some of it, you'd have to go on the internet to find out who they were and whatnot. But there's part of it. It's like, no, I kind of like that. It's like, you weren't there, you don't recognise it. It's fine. There's another 100 for you to find. I'm sure you'll recognise some of them. Let's do the formalities. We've got the gaming gallery, as we call it. Rogues gallery. Yeah, it's actually not rogues gallery. It's mugshots, isn't it? For criminals, a rogues gallery. Is that right? Doesn't know. Heard it the other day.
sounds right.
Yeah, exactly. We've got self-storage to put it in, so if it really, you didn't like those little bots, collecting them, and just like, I don't recognise anyone other than Joel, then that could be an option for you. Or it can go into the gallery and earn itself a platinum, gold, silver, or a bronze.
It would definitely go in for me.
Okay, good, because that would have been a problem. I think we'd have had to stop recording and sit down and think, well, what's happened here. Here's the interesting point. Where does it go for you? Because I don't think you're as high on this as what I would be looking at.
No, look, I enjoyed it. Well, I enjoyed it. So every level, every time I picked up this game, I enjoyed it. And when you kind of speaking to you now and you kind of really drill down to like the creativity, like the love in the game, and it is special. What I would say, and it's weird, it's because I always enjoyed the time I played with it, but I never felt myself being drawn back in. I kind of thought, I should really play a couple of levels. It wasn't until the end when I'd done a couple of hours, I'd done like 2.5 hours non-stop. I did enjoy it more then. Anyway, based on all of that, I want to give it a silver.
Yep, safety silver. I was the same. I mean, as I said, the time it took us to play it, like a 15-hour game, that's absurd. Like over nearly 2 months, 6 weeks, 7 weeks, whatever it was. Like, that is really slow. I mean, I was playing Persona 3 alongside it, so this was like, I would literally go on, play a level and come off for a while. And it was only in the last week or so I started spending more time with it, and I think like you, I was like, I wish I'd done a bit more of this. But I was juggling two things, which I don't often do, but I think for those JRPGs you have to have something. This was like a perfect companion game, but equally the time I spent towards the back end, where it sort of became the main game for a weekend to finish off, I was like, this would be great as just the only game I was playing. So I think it slots into, it can do a couple of things for people. It can be a little side project to chip away at, or it can be your focus for a week, week and a half, weekend, however big your sessions are, and you're going to have a good time playing it. I don't have many problems with it, other than the black screen, which was, it could be the telly, but as I said, I've not seen that in any of the other games I've been playing. So I gave the Playroom, got a gold, Astro's Playroom. I was like, is this better than that? Of course. Like, it's a proper game version of it. Granted, it wasn't free. It was 50 quid, 60 quid, not 70 quid. So there's a little £10 discount for people. But I think they struck a really nice balance. I think they hit a really nice sweet spot with the nostalgia, with the creativity, with the gameplay, with the energy that the game brings, and also with the work and the sizzle they've got going. I just really struggle to give it anything. Fuck it, platinum. One a year I'll try and give out. Although actually I gave Alan Wake 2 a platinum earlier this year, but I played that last year. I really just think that it's that good. I think of like Odyssey, which I gave a platinum also all those years ago, and I'm like, this is on par with that. It's its own thing. It's different. It's more, bite-sized in many ways, but what is there is just excellent. It is a nice celebration of just like games and video games, and I think there's not many things out there like that. Whether they can do this again, I don't. And maybe that's a question I'll ask you at the end, like the future, what sort of direction to go in. But this, as a product that came out, like I didn't expect it to even arrive. It arrived, and I was like, that'd probably be good, but like I really do just enjoy the celebration, the way they use the technology that the PS5 and the DualSense has, all that stuff is, there's very little problems with it at all. Like the challenge levels I found frustrating and hard, but there's only 3 of those really that gave me real problems. And it's all manageable. If I can get through it, then plenty of other people can. So platinum, I think I'll just stick with it and ride it out. I mean, it's not like it hasn't been praised. I mean, I'll check the scores. It's like 95 or something on Open Critic. I was like, well, yeah, it really is good. Like if you've played the Playroom and you liked it, you'll love this, I'm pretty sure. And even if you haven't, and you've got a PS5, first of all, just install Playroom if you've uninstalled it and play it, and then just dive into this. Like, you'll have a lot of fun with it. It's a nice change of pace. I look at all the games that normally we play, like dreary, depressing, survival horror, fucking Helldivers, shooting bugs, fucking Spider-Man, Cocoon, Final Fantasy, Japanese. It's all this like serious stuff. This was just like a nice change of pace. And really, I don't think PlayStation aren't known for doing things like this at all, really. Like, this is so out of character. I do hope it succeeds on a commercial level so that it shows them that you don't need to just have like Joel and Ellie and Aloy and God of War, and like you can do some fun stuff that appeals to younger demographics as well. But it's perfectly playable as an adult as well. I really did enjoy my time every time I picked it, but not once did I put the controller down and think, oh, that was annoying or frustrating. It was always like smiles. Like, I wish I could play this more, but I was trying to savour it. Look, what's next though? Because I feel they have kind of spurned their chance at doing the whole. Can it survive? Can they do another one without the characters of the gaming industry? Like, there's probably another 300 they could pull out if they needed to. But is this now the identity of Astrobot? Is it kind of trapped in this? Oh, it needs to be crossover. It needs to be a celebration type thing, or can they break through and can Astrobot go back to just being like Rescue Mission? There was no crossover in that.
That was my question. I obviously I remember it being Rescue Mission. You were rescuing bots, but they were just
run of the mill bots, yeah.
Right.
But now they've done this, everyone's going to be like, well,
I don't know. You could. I think what would be a sensible thing would be to have. It doesn't need to be so varied, but it could maybe just have, the 5 core bots. They could be I don't know, maybe you play those characters for an entire world, perhaps, or something along those lines. I mean, there's enough history for it to mine to have completely different characters. So, to be honest, it can do look. They've been quite flexible. The fact that it was like a full VR game that was good. Now it's a full price, full 15-hour adventure, good. It started humbly as like a packing game. Well, I don't remember the one on the PS4 that you were talking about at the beginning.
It was nothing other than a showcase for like the camera. It wasn't that good at all. It wasn't even really a game. It's more of a tech demo.
Right. Anyway, yeah. So it's like I think we definitely will see it again. In some guys, I think the fundamentals were always the same. He's always punching things and doing that little jump thing, and then kind of what they do around that is kind of down to them. But yeah, I don't think it has to be. I think you're always going to be rescuing bots. That's now become like core.
Yeah,
it's different. Thing is, it is difficult. I get what you mean, because if you go back to just run
of the mill,
like metallic bots that are nobody, you just kind of take it. It's just the same but less fun than having ones you recognise. I don't know.
That is part of the magic here, isn't it? Undoubtedly, that is part of the magic, and how much the magic people experience will depend on their experience or their knowledge. But it is there. You will get sprinkles of it. Cause it's not like Mario in that, like Odyssey. Let's just take your narrative of it, like boring sort of bland worlds, but Mario, just in the control scheme, far more advanced. Like the jump in, you can do back jumps, you can do jumping onto capping. There's all these. It's actually a shitload of depth to Mario in just the control scheme, which I think a lot of people get satisfaction out of, is doing the challenges, working out how to master the actual control of Mario. Like, he's actually got a lot of tricks up his sleeve. Astrobot actually hasn't. Like, he gets a power up, but other than that, you're punching and jumping, and that'll appeal to people because it's simplistic and it's dialed in so well. But it's not like you can like let Astrobot loose in like a city and be like, off you go, because there's only you'd need a lot of power ups to kind of the worlds need to be constructed in a way that fall into Astrobot's skills. Whereas with Mario, you can drop them into more open environments. So I wonder what they'll do with it. I would like to see if they carry on with like we're going to use other IPs and franchises to fill out the game. Like, there's an opportunity to do like a crossover, like crossover levels where it's Kratos and, I don't know, someone else, whoever from another, and like you combine their powers. Or I don't want to do co-op necessarily, but there's options there, isn't there? There's two of you with two different powers, like some sort of team up where you get like this, like Smash Brothers, you get all these things thrown together, like maybe to try and mix them up, and you see these characters and powers interacting in a way that just isn't possible in other games. Even though it's like an Astrobot level, it's like a slimmed down version. That I think would be quite compelling, but must be a lot of hard work contacting all these teams and saying, look, I need sign off for this. And we're not even going to name them either. We're not even going to say explicitly who it is, but still need to check that we can use this little fella that looks like, I don't know, whoever from your game in 1992. Who owns the license for that? That's what I'd like to maybe see in the future, is some sort of more crossover if they're going to carry on a character one. But to be honest, they could do like a different genre altogether with this. Like, he's quite flexible. Chuck him in a kart racer, chuck him in a 2D. But do you know what I mean? It would just work.
Yeah.
So, future's bright for Astrobot, and I think Team Asobi have done themselves no disservice here. I think people find a lot of enjoyment in this game, and kids, adults, the whole gang can come along and enjoy this. So I love Astrobot. Adcock, I think, likes Astrobot about the same, maybe a little better or worse than Odyssey.
Oh, better.
Lovely.
Yeah.
The Nintendo fans won't like that, because you're Mr. Nintendo, and they're like, now they're seeing you like going, oh, we just want graphics and jewels and physics. Just wants TV doesn't even turn off. You start it. What are you talking about? We'll see. Anyway, a platinum from me for Astrobot and a seal from Adcock for Astrobot. Nothing more for us to say other than thanks for your time and ta-da.
This was a Dimp Digital production.